This is Justin.
And this is Haley, and you're listening to The Price of Avocado Toast.
We're a married millennial couple wanting to normalize conversations about money. We want to hear about your highs and your lows,
The do's and the don'ts on your path towards financial freedom. Hi, Toasties. Welcome to Price of Avocado Toast.
Whether you're a first-time listener or you've been following us from the start of this thing, we're so glad to have this conversation with you today. Santa Claus is coming to town. It is Christmas week.
And I'm really happy that you're not going to show up in our driveway with a brand new car with a bow on it.
Yes.
Please don't do that.
Maybe not a brand new car, but Christmas week is definitely focused on cars in the Brownwoods family.
Yeah.
Yes, we wanted to have a short and sweet episode this week because we recognize that some people are going to be spending the holidays with their family, but we felt like we absolutely had to catch you all up on the car saga that has been the last week for us.
Yeah, so if you've been following us for a hot second, you know that we sold our house last spring and we relocated. We moved to a completely different part of California. I mean, not like that far away or anything. But since June, maybe May, we've spent like $10,000 plus some fixing cars. And, you know, we drove 2007 and 2008. We drove older cars, and they were just causing issues nonstop.
Yeah, we had an AC repaired. We had transmission mounts repaired. We had batteries replaced. We had other work done in the Suburban that was causing, transmission issues. Like, we had a lot of work that we had to put into these vehicles. And we realized that at some point, we weren't going to be able to just keep sinking money into these vehicles. And we decided that we had to make some changes. So we wanted to talk to you all about our mindset and the way we went about updating and upgrading our vehicles this past week.
So one thing I want to mention is that our mindset has been shifting and shifting and shifting, and we thought through so many different possibilities of how to get newer vehicles. And I'm just going to say new cars, but just know that we're not talking about brand new cars. We're talking about new to us cars. I even entertained the idea of, like, what if we put a fat down payment on a car and financed another portion of it? Maybe we could get a payment that was like $200, $300 a month. Didn't have to be some huge $700 or $800 payment, but we even entertained getting a car loan, guys. And I never even thought that we would have that conversation ever again.
Yeah, beyond the idea of buying an actual new car off a lot, we cycled through every single idea and really tossed it up and really talked about it honestly and openly and, with all of the emotion and baggage that we have in our relationship. And I'm really glad with where we settled on things. Yeah. But I think it's important that the listeners know, like, we talked about every single option out there.
And there's nothing wrong with having a car loan, but I think just like we unpacked a lot of the things that we are still dealing with being a year out removed from following Dave Ramsey. We talked about that in our episode recently with V, but I was conditioned to think that anyone with a car loan was stupid. They were irresponsible. They were just a bad person making bad decisions. And we've talked to so many guests that have come onto our podcast sharing our stories about how they were in a situation and they had to get a car loan for whatever reason. Or they make enough money to pay $200 or $300 a month for a car that they value.
Yeah.
They value the security of knowing that they're not going to be left stranded on the side of the road.
For sure.
And we were spending thousands of dollars. And so it finally got to a point where we decided we have to do something about this. I'm really glad we didn't end up getting a car loan, but something that really, really stuck to me was I was Instagramming, making stories, and Travis Shelton said, you could have woken up with $60,000 of debt this morning. And I was like, ooh, man, that rang so true. Just the idea that even though we're entertaining all of these options, we could have woken up one day with a lot of debt. Say we went and bought a brand new car, or we financed two cars that were a little older. I'm not saying that's a bad decision, but I'm just glad that this is where we ended up.
Yeah, definitely. So we want to give you listeners just a little bit of an idea and the actual like nitty gritty nuts and bolts money aspect of the cars. So we had a 2007 Suburban that we purchased for $8,000 when we got it, and you can check on our Instagram the day we got that. And then we had a 2008 Honda Civic Hybrid that we purchased for $5,000, and we purchased that actually in 2019, just like a week or two after Calliope was born.
I would say almost exactly 2 weeks ago. I mean, 2 years ago.
Yeah, pretty wild. So we had two cars totaling about 13 grand, right? And again, we had decided we didn't want to sink any more money into them. There was nothing wrong with them. You had seen maybe the Instagram post where literally the hybrid just needed an oil change, which is so stupid to me. But I went down and did a drive along with the mechanic technician, and he was like, "Yeah, man, like this is all you needed." And so it is what it is, whatever. But we realized, hey, we're over the Civic anyways. We want to get a bigger car so that I can drive our girls around, and we wanted to upgrade the Suburban because it has about 270,000 miles on it, and we know that it's going to take a little bit more over the course of its life because it's such an older vehicle. So we figured let's upgrade both vehicles. And so the first vehicle that we purchased was one I found on Facebook Marketplace, and it was a 2007 Honda CR-V that was listed at $8,400, and it had 92,000 miles on it. Now, the interesting thing was, after about a few days online, they marked down the price to $7,900. And then after we went and test drove it, I countered and said, hey, we'd be willing to pay about $7,500 for this. And they came back and said, actually, the owner's willing to sell it for $7,000. She was an older woman whose husband is now in palliative care, unfortunately, and they don't need the extra vehicle. So she wanted to, sell it basically at cost to her. And her neighbor, who's a younger gentleman, helped her, which was really cool. So we were able to get that CRV for $7,000. Do you want to share about the new Suburban, your new baby?
Oh, it's nice.
It's pretty darn nice. Yeah.
So I love the Suburban that we had. It was a 2007. It's very beautiful, the most gas guzzling car I've ever driven in my life. And I wanted something similar if we could find something similar. And we literally found the exact same car, just 2 years newer. It's a 2009, and it has 70,000 less miles on it. It still has over 200,000 miles, but it doesn't have 270,000 miles.
Yeah.
So that's going to give it some more life. And we bought that car for $12,500. It's a beauty. I love it dearly.
Yeah, I mean, we bought it for $12,500. One of the really great things that I think we did, though, that was pretty wise, was we took it down to the mechanic who's been servicing our cars over the summer and had them run their used car diagnostic on it, where they take it for the whole day, and it was like $180, but they looked through this thing up and down, and they told us exactly everything that they identified that, are potential issues that may come up or things that need to get worked on. But their mechanics were pretty upfront with us, like, hey, this is a pretty sweet car, you guys. This is a pretty good deal at $12,500. You should definitely take it. And I was really thankful that they were honest about that and open with everything that they saw, because there are some issues with it, but nothing that's, a huge major fix. It's like very, very small things.
Mm-hmm. And we have not sold the old Suburban yet. We actually bought these two new cars before we sold the other two.
Yeah.
So there was a period of time where we had 4 cars in our driveway. And the reason we did this is, like I said, we went through all the mindset options of like, what are we going to do? How can we afford this? And we decided we're just going to transfer money from our Ally savings account to cover the new vehicles, take our time, and slowly sell the other ones, because we didn't want to feel like we had to do something and needed to buy a new car and it was a rushed decision. Because I think that is when people get pressured into making decisions that aren't the best.
Yeah, I agree completely. So at this point, we're $19,500 into new vehicles, and we decide to take my Honda Civic down to CarMax in the big city that's kind of down the hill, because they offered me an online quote at $3,600. And remind you, I bought it for $5,000 2 years ago, so I felt like, okay, that's a relatively decent deal for selling it quickly, getting the cash in our hand. Low maintenance or low tasks on my part. Just kind of drive down and have it be taken care of. So we lug the girls into the Suburban. I drive the Civic down about 45 minutes from the house. We get to CarMax. They say, okay, it's going to be about 45 minutes. So all of us are waiting in the car while they're taking the Civic around the block and checking it all out. And they call me back in time. They say, okay, we finalized your offer. Here it is. And they give me an offer sheet that has it relisted at $1,800. And the gentleman that I was speaking with was like, wait a minute, what did you say they offered online? And I told him, and he was like, okay, this is not matching up. Let me go ask them why. And he came back and said, oh, when they were driving it, they heard engine sounds that they didn't like, which is very strange to me because I don't know what engine sounds they heard that they didn't like. The engine is pretty well taken care of on that thing. But we just realized that 1,800 was not something that we were going to be willing
No, that was ridiculous.
to part with.
That was ridiculous. I said, we got to take this home, put it on Facebook Marketplace, and see what we can get for it. And this just is funny to me because the next morning you took pictures, put it on Facebook Marketplace. Within 2 hours, someone was here and bought the car in cash for $4,500.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was kind of serendipitous. I posted it and somebody reached out immediately and said, how's the battery on that thing? Which is so funny because the battery is what we recently had to replace on it. And I said, actually, the battery's, brand new and I've got it serviced and I have the warranty on that service still. And they came by and their son's up from college and he needs, something that's a good commuter and something that's going to get him around. And the Civic is definitely that. It's great on gas. And they loved it, and they were totally cool with it. And so we ended up selling for $4,500. I listed it at $5,000, and then they drove it around a little bit. I haven't actually even told you this story. They drove it around a little bit, and they get back out, and they're like, "Yeah, we really like it." And I said, "Okay, cool. Like, how do you guys, what do you guys think? Like, what price do you want to come in at?" And the dad was kind of like, I don't know." And I asked the kid. I said, "Well, tell me, what are your grades like?" And he's like, B pluses and A's. And I was like, cool. And what are you studying? And it was like, astrophysics. And I was like, what's your coolest class right now? And he's like, calculus. And his mom is there and she's like, and tell him what you got in your calculus class. He's like, I got like an A plus. And this kid's at UC Riverside getting like A plus in calculus. So I was like, all right, sick. Let's call it 4,500. If you've got the cash on you right now, we'll close the deal. And they did. They wrote us personal check. It cleared our bank immediately. And I was like, all right, sweet. Here's the keys. Y'all can go. So yeah.
Look at you go.
Yeah, I just the old woman who kind of gave us a deal on the CRV, I felt like karma comes back around.
Oh,
right?
100%.
And so I figured knocking it down $500 for a student and still making almost 1,000 more than CarMax originally offered us.
Yeah.
Like I'm cool taking 4,500 for that vehicle, and a college student gets to have it and whip it around and smash it a little bit before it's on to the next person.
My favorite takeaway is that selling something online, especially on Facebook Marketplace, doesn't have to be a hassle.
No.
We sold our 4Runner for $32,000 on Facebook Marketplace within 2 days and the Civic within 2 hours. So it doesn't have to be a huge deal. Just take pictures, put it on there. And you didn't even, get the Civic washed.
No.
The inside was clean because it just got serviced. But, you literally just took pictures. Here it is.
They literally showed up and they're like, "Oh, you've had this parked underneath a pine tree. It happens to our car too." And they showed me where there's sap and stuff. And I'm like, "Yeah, this is 1,000% correct. This is the tree right here." And it was just really funny because it was like, I literally didn't even wash it or anything. But it goes back to what you're saying about the fact that we didn't want to have to rush to sell, rush to buy, get in any bad situation. Because we had the funds to buy new vehicles and we weren't strapped for cash, we were able to take our time. We were able to turn down CarMax and say, no, we're going to hang on to this and post it somewhere else and wait it out and see. And it just so happened to work out in our favor almost immediately. And I think that that's really the main key takeaway here is that, when you're having money issues or you're desperate, you make choices that are maybe rational or irrational, but you make them much faster than you would sometimes, and that can be a negative part of it. And so when you're a little bit more comfortable in your financial situation, you're able to take a deep breath and really analyze everything around you without feeling the stress of it all.
And not everyone's going to have $19,500 in their bank to just transfer and go buy 2 new cars immediately. And if you're in a situation where you need a new vehicle, yours is no longer serving you, if you have a family or a friend who's able to lend you an extra vehicle that they have for a week, That is huge. My mom's boyfriend lent Justin his truck so many times, but this last time for a week.
Yeah.
And having that extra vehicle gave us time to have yours at the shop. We weren't frantically worried about like who was going to drive the car. It gave us that flexibility. And I know not everyone has family or friends that are able to do that, but if you do have anyone, if they're able to help you out, that would make this a whole lot easier, less stressful, less like rushed decision making for sure.
Yeah. So to catch everybody up on the exact numbers of everything, we are $19,500 into the two new vehicles, and we sold the Civic for $4,500. So overall, right now we're sitting at about 15 grand negative because of the vehicles. Now we're gonna post Haley's old Suburban for. I'm gonna post it on Facebook for about 8 grand, I think, and I'm hoping that somebody will want to come in at about 7 on it, and that will take our overall sunk cost into the two new vehicles at $8,000. I think $8,000 for two new vehicles to us is a really good margin, and is a really good price point for us.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal, and I think we'll probably be able to get $7,000 for your Suburban. It's still really nice. It's got some pretty nice kind of luxury upgrades between this like really nice window tinting and all the work that we've done into it, and the interior with the captain seats versus just like a bench seating style.
Yeah.
So I think we should be able to get somewhere around there for it. But again, I think $8,000 as a total sunk cost, if we can get down to that number, that really puts us in a pretty good space with these two new vehicles.
Can you guys send us some good juju
Yeah.
for some positive numbers on this new vehicle, and that these newer ones that we just got are everything that we think they're hopped out to be?
Yeah, for sure.
I recently realized that your Civic and my old Suburban, they lasted great the first year. It's not like they really even had problems with them, but I realized we didn't drive during 2020.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't go anywhere. So why would we have anything? We wouldn't need to even service the damn car because we didn't put any miles on it.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden it was like we moved somewhere where we have to drive 15 miles to go to the stupid grocery store. So it's like, okay, this makes sense why you reach the oil change significantly faster than the year where you sit inside of your house and don't go anywhere. So it all makes sense. But I still was not happy having to spend $10,000 on cars. And we had to really do a cost analysis. Like, what's worth this to us? Even if we spent another $5,000 the next year, I'd rather just have newer to us vehicles.
Yeah. Definitely. Ultimately, our goal with this episode, everyone, is just to be transparent. Y'all know that that's the name of the game when it comes to our podcast, and we don't want to hide anything from anyone. We don't want to, pull the wool over your eyes and make you think that, we might say something and then do another. Like, we wanted to be straight up. Like, these are all the things that we tossed through in our minds, and these were some hard conversations we had for a couple of days about what we felt was best. And ultimately, I think we did settle on the right choice for us and our family. But it's interesting being put back into that position and, kind of playing a different side of it.
All of our listeners have heard us through everything. They heard us through Dave Ramsey, Gazelle intensity, like, let's freaking go. This is the way to do it. To, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. To, we're never using credit cards again. To, okay, fine, we're going to use credit cards for travel hacking. To, we're never going to finance a car again. To even thinking about it. So it doesn't mean that we're slipping into old habits. It just means that we are thinking through things in a different lens.
Yeah.
We now have way different knowledge than we did when we first started. And I think we're able to confidently sit down, weigh the pros and cons, and figure out what is the best for our certain situation. That being said, we're also way more open-minded.
Yeah.
And I realize that personal finance is personal. It's never going to be the same. 1 month will never be the same as the other, and our personal finance situation is never going to be the same as someone else's. So things are ever changing, and it's okay if you say you're never going to do something and then you realize a year later, wait, maybe I was wrong, or maybe I do want to explore that again. It's okay. It's okay to change your mind.
Yeah. It's a lot like Sarah, Budget Girl, kind of talked about, it's like tracking net worth is so much more important. People get hung up in these, really difficult decisions because they're coming from this, traumatic experience of getting out of debt, where the main thing that you should be looking at is your net worth, looking at your investments, looking at all of the things around you, your income versus your outgo, all of those things that identify your net worth. And that's really what you want to be looking at. And our net worth is still really positive and really exciting for us.
I was telling you this week that I was getting anxiety watching our savings go down because we, at one period of time, had $600,000 in the bank account. And if you guys are new to our podcast, hello, we spent a lot of money. But that went so quickly. And we just sold our house and had $207,000 of profit after selling our house. And so to even go and spend $19,500 on car gave me so much anxiety. It actually made me more anxious than I think I would have felt if we were to just like go buy a new car, a brand new car, which is so weird if you think about.
Yeah.
Buying a new car, it feels like it's not a lot because you don't have to do much right away. But then all of a sudden you have a $700 monthly payment, increasing the expenses. So it's weird. There's a whole lot going on with like unpacking all of the stuff that we've been through with our finances. I feel like we didn't really do that. We just like went to Dave Ramsey and we're like, let's go. And then all of a sudden we weren't. And we never really unpacked the fact that we blew $600,000. We've done it on this podcast, but things still come up. And that came up pretty hard for me this week. I was like, okay, I don't like this feeling. Let's talk through why I'm so uncomfortable spending this much money. But like you said, it's all about the end goal, the net worth, and it's okay to have these feelings come up.
Yeah. It's genuine and it's authentic.
Yeah. And if we don't talk about it, then it's just going to be left unsaid, and then we won't feel good making decisions. And we're supposed to be growing in our finance journey, not just sitting with uncomfortable feelings for the rest of the time, because things are going to come up and you're going to feel some sort of way. And I did feel some sort of way this week, but I'm satisfied with the decision that we made. Are you?
I am absolutely satisfied.
Go team!
Go team. Well, Merry Christmas, Toasties, or Happy Holidays, whatever you choose to celebrate. We're so thankful that we have you guys to talk to about, issues like this and things that come up in our world. And, we just really hope that everybody has some happy holidays, because I think our holidays are going to be pretty darn happy.
Yeah. Thank you, all of you, for constantly supporting us on our journey and growing with us as we continue to evolve on this journey, because we're constantly changing.
Absolutely.
Changing.
That's going to do it for this episode of Price of Avocado Toast. As always, we are so thankful to have had this conversation with you and so grateful to be a part of this community. Happy budgeting and happy holidays.
You've got this, Toasties.
Thanks for listening to the Price of Avocado Toast. If you vibed with this episode, share it with a friend that you're comfortable having money talks with. And if you don't mind, we'd love if you could rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
If you're in need of my support as a financial coach, message me on Instagram. I'd love to help in any way that I can. Until next time.